team podcast breakdowns, but I decided, you know what? Instead, let's go ahead. Let's live stream this. I'm going to have a decent amount of teams to look at tonight. This may be a very long live stream, but we got a lot of work to do. And of course, if you are just now stopping by, make sure you drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. And if you want to get your team broken down in a podcast like all the teams we'll be looking at today, if you want to get access to my Dynasty rankings, whether that's one quarterback, super flex, rookie, veteran, best ball, whatever the hell you're looking for, if you want to get access to exclusive articles, videos, live streams, if you want to join our exclusive Discord chats, and you want all these perks from those people at the very top as well, make sure you sign up for flogfantasy.com. When you use promo code FLOCK, you will get 30% off, and that is what will get your podcast team broken down by yours truly, if you have that mother flocker tier. But I think that should be about it. Let's go through and let's pull up our first team here. So we're going to go over to the roster submissions tab on Discord. This is under my section of the Discord. You're only going to see this if you are a member of flogfantasy.com and you are a mother flocker. So I asked for permission for these people to let me look at their teams in this light. So our first one we are going to be looking at will be from, let's actually go to Cheeky Ops. And I believe he said we can. Yeah, he said we can. Let's look at this. It's going to be a 12-team league, unique scoring attached. Last year was startup, and this is the first year of the Dynasty. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's pull this up. Before we look at anything, we need to be looking at the league settings. In my mind, the most important thing when you're talking about really any Dynasty Fantasy Football League is making those manual adjustments to your league settings. I mean, in a redraft, everybody plays in the same league, so everybody has the same values, blah, blah, blah. In Dynasty, you really need to understand how your specific league settings will impact how you want to build your roster and the type of players that you're going to be going after. So in this league in particular, we are going to see that you are still only getting 0.04 points per passing yard. So 25 passing yards equals 1 point, but you are getting 6 points per passing touchdown. You are getting a quarter point per passing first down. You are getting 0.1 points per completed pass. In my mind, this is crazy. If you're going to go through, if you are going to get this kind of passing statistic bump, we need to be doing everything we can to find those quarterbacks that can throw the ball with a volume. We already know that having a Patrick Mahomes on your team gives you a significant edge where the rest of your league's going to have a very difficult time keeping up. But in this league in particular, the gap between Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, those elite level quarterbacks, and everybody else is going to be so wide that if you don't have an elite level QB, it's going to be very difficult for you to be competitive. Now, what is nice, you'll see rushing is, kind of counteracting this. You are going to be getting 6 points per rushing touchdown. That's normal, but you're getting half a point per rushing first down. You're getting 0.25 points per rush attempt. And we'll see kind of the same thing at wide receiver, where you are going to be getting half a point per receiving first down. But I want to point something out here between the rushing statistics and the receiving statistics. The 0.25 points per rush attempt makes running backs so much more valuable than they otherwise would be. Because if you're going to go get a running back that can have 300 carries in a season, that is just going to be a ridiculous, I want to say like 75 points added on. That's going to make a fundamental difference in every single week when you're trying to determine, do I want to start this running back in the flex or do I want to start this wide receiver? To throw on the fact, you're going to be getting 0.5 points added on for a running back reception compared to a wide receiver reception. So we are already putting running backs at a premium in the point per carry aspect, but we are also giving running backs an additional bonus every time they catch the ball. So in my mind, every flex spot that we have, we want to be starting running back over wide receiver. Every flex spot, you want a running back in there. You also get 2 points per reception for the tight end position. So tight ends matter. In my mind, this entire format tells us we don't care about wide receiver. I'm not going to be flexing wide receivers. I'm going to be trying to flex as many running backs as possible. I want a very good tight end. I want a very good quarterback with that scoring as well. Now, if we pull this up, we are going to see that at quarterback, we have one player that we really like in particular. We have Deshaun Watson. With Watson, I was very excited about where he stood last offseason. I thought that he was going to come in this upcoming year, be a top 5 quarterback when he did play for the Cleveland Browns. But clearly, that did not happen. Clearly, Deshaun Watson was not nearly as good as I was expecting him to be. So we need to be realistic with ourselves going forward that it's not like Deshaun Watson is someone we can just pencil in automatically to be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. Now, it's still entirely possible. Deshaun Watson spent like 2 years away from the game of football. So I think going forward, Watson will most likely be better than he was just for this 6-week stretch. But still, I don't necessarily think he's an automatic top 5 QB. Still a quarterback 1 in my mind. Still excited about having him there. Now, we don't really have anybody on the bench. Davis Mills is a nothing burger. Going over to running back, we will see we have Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook. So we have a few question marks at the running back position there. Going down to the bench, we have nobody, but we will get to the rookie picks later on because this is a Bijan Robinson team. We do have the 101. This is what's going to save this team, especially in these league settings. Now, going over to wide receiver, we're going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Treylon Burks, Van Jefferson, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rondale Moore, John Mechie. And then down there on the bench, we have really nobody. So really the only wide receiver production we are going to expect, it will be from Amon-Ra St. Brown and Treylon Burks. You can throw Donovan Peoples-Jones in the mix, especially if you do have that stack with Deshaun Watson. Now, I didn't even notice this initially, but remember, we are getting 2 additional points for every tight end reception. So this is a 3-point per reception tight end league. Not only is there an extreme tight end premium on that front, but also you have to start 2 of these guys. That makes this an extreme tight end premium format. I mean, we have Komet, we have Noah Fant. We're not really excited about either or. I mean, I kind of liked Noah Fant as the player, but the situation just isn't good. Now, we need to go through and look at what we are going to be doing with our rookie picks this upcoming season. We are in a spot where we are able to add in Bijan Robinson at the 101, which will significantly help this running back room. This is exactly what we are looking for. A running back that can pick up a ton of first downs, a running back that will catch the ball out of the backfield. Remember, it's 1.5 points per reception for the running back position, and also handle 300 carries in a season. And it's 0.25 points per carry. Bijan can go out there and average over 30 points per game in this format. That is entirely possible. So adding him on here is extremely exciting. I'm not going to be looking to trade the pick, even though we have a decent amount of holes. Now, going over to the 103, I think this will be a clear spot where we want to go through and take a quarterback. I mean, regardless of the league settings, we are going quarterback here, but especially when we have to start 2 QBs, it's not super flex, it's mandatory start 2. And to go along with this, we have the quarterback boosted scoring. Now, at the 103 currently, I mean, I don't necessarily have a strong preference between who we're taking here. I just updated my rankings on flockfantasy.com as I pull these up to show you. Remember, go to flockfantasy.com. Get your team broken down in a podcast. Check out our rankings at the same time. But if I'm going to go through and pull up my updated Superflex rookie rankings, post trades, post free agent craziness, I have CJ Stroud ranked as our 23rd player overall as the 102. I have Bryce Young ranked as our 24th player overall as the 103. And I have Anthony Richardson ranked at 28th overall as the 104. So all of those guys in the same tier. In reality, I think it's going to be up to you with who you're taking. I think we are going to wait a little bit until we actually get to see confirmation on landing spots, NFL draft capital. But that is just going to be up to you. Take a quarterback. Take a quarterback. That will fill that hole, and it will be best player available at the same time. Now, going over to the 111, 112, 201, 203, this is where things get interesting. Because if I'm going to go back and pull up my rankings on flockfantasy.com, at the 201, I'm currently looking at Josh Downs. At the 111, I have Zay Flowers. At the 112, I have Jalen Hyatt. At the 203, I'm looking at someone like Sean Tucker. And I never really recommend for someone to go out there and draft rookie tight ends, just given the fact that at the tight end position, even if those rookie tight ends come out and produce, I mean, a good stat line year 1 and year 2, they're still not going to rise in dynasty value too much. The perfect example of that would be Pat Freiermuth. But assuming we cannot trade the 111, 112 for a Pat Freiermuth level player, actually, let me just go over and look at my tight end rankings on flockfantasy.com. Tell you exactly who would be looking to trade the 111, 112 for in this format in particular. Keep in mind, in this format, if we can't get Pat Freiermuth or even maybe Evan Ingram for one of those picks, then at that point, specifically because this is a format where you are getting 3 points per reception for the tight end position, not only are you getting 3 points per reception for the tight end position, but at the same time, you have to start 2 of them. I would not mind going with both Dalton Kincaid as well as Michael Mayer. I would take them in this format over those wide receivers such as Jalen Hyatt, Zay Flowers, Josh Downs. Going back to what we were discussing previously, wide receivers in this format in particular are going to be devalued compared to running back and tight end. Like I said, we definitely want to be flexing running backs in this league. Now, going over to the 203, I mean, it's very difficult to project out who we're going to be taking in the middle of the second round here. I would say that I'm probably going to stay flexible. I don't want to lock in anything right now, but we're most likely going to be looking at going with whatever day 2 running back ends up with decent capital, not only decent capital, but a landing spot that you like as well. If Roschon Johnson goes somewhere we like, we're taking him at the 203. And I'd say the same thing about a bunch of different running backs in that range. Just stay flexible. But the big thing is I'm not too excited to ever go out there and start drafting wide receivers there, because going back to what we were discussing previously, this format does not incentivize you to go with wide receiver. But I think that's primarily everything we have here. I think this team is not ready to contend this upcoming season. So if we were to get to August, we were to get to September, and you feel like you're able to actually squeeze out a little bit of value for a veteran like Dalvin Cook in trade, I wouldn't mind going through and trading him away and trying to play that long game and play for 2024 as well. If you feel like you're not ready to contend right now, you may not even have to make those selections at the 111, 112, 203. You can start trying to trade those picks for future first. Like if you could trade, say, the 111 and then like the 206 and go get a 2024 first, specifically if you don't think you're ready to contend, I think that could also be another viable option. But thank you again, my friend, for being a long time member of the Flock. Thank you for joining Flock Fantasy. If you have anything that you would like to see improved with the site, please do not hesitate. Reach out to me right away, and I'd be super happy to get that sorted out for you. But as I pull up our next team here, let me read a donation question we had. Aaron coming out with a donation. Thank you, my friend. Says, 1 quarterback, 12 team, start 8. I want JSN in the draft. We traded Rodgers, Dobbs, the 103 for the 102. I'm catching heat for it. What are your thoughts? I mean, if it's a 1 quarterback league, who the hell cares about trading away a 40-year-old quarterback? You're probably not going to start anyway. Romeo Dobbs is nothing. I don't necessarily think that it's a super easy decision at this time between JSN and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think we're going to have to kind of see the NFL draft capital and landing spots play out for those 2 players in particular. So I don't love the idea of trading up from the 103 to 102 just to get our guy. But in reality, you paid a very reasonable price to do so. So I'm not upset with it at all. But as I pull up our next team, let me remind you, if you want your team broken down into podcast, go sign up for flockfantasy.com. Promo code FLOCK, and yours truly will break it down. Usually we do these as private podcasts, but we had a lot to get to, so I wanted to go ahead and just kind of knock these all out at once, and I figured it'd be fun if we do it as a live stream as well. Okay, so we're going to have to actually open this one up on Safari, so just give me literally 10 seconds to switch my screen share around here. Oh, this is going to be an ugly view for y'all, but you can deal with it. I believe in you. I believe in you. Okay, so Safari screenshot, bam. Okay, so this will be a team coming from Chimichanga, another longtime member of the Flock. Thank you so much, my man. Says, 2nd place for the 2022 season. Also, we have the trade offer on the table, DJ Moore for Jahan Dotson, as well as Donovan Peoples-Jones. Okay, so actually this may be a decent time to go through and show y'all that we just put out an article, Sell DJ Moore while you can. This is on flockfantasy.com. We go through and look at this Chicago Bears situation for DJ Moore. We say that, yes, the Chicago Bears will be significantly better than they just were And DJ Moore is a very good player, but I'm actually looking to sell him. I'll visit the Jahan Dotson value right after we go through this entire team, but we don't have too much to discuss in terms of the league settings here. If I'm going to be pulling this up right now, it'll be a 5-point passing touchdown league. I mean, or not really having to make too many adjustments. You do get -1 point per sack. You're getting ½ a point per rushing first down, and you are not getting ½ a point per receiving first down. So actually, you know what? If you're only getting the ½ a point per rushing first down, this is very similar to the team that we looked at previously, where I'd say at this point, we're probably going to be trying to plan on starting as many running backs as we possibly can in that flex spot. That's going to be the main thing that we're looking at. Now, starting off the quarterback, you're never going to complain when we're looking at Joe Burrow here. Joe Burrow, top 3 quarterback in fantasy, top 3 quarterback in Dynasty. You have him stacked up with Jamar Chase. Perfect situation to be in. Going down to the second quarterback, I mean, as of now, you have Dak Prescott in the starting lineup, but Dak Prescott's actually the quarterback 3 here. We are sitting with a Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence build. So we have the #1 overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the #1 overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft. We are looking at 2 quarterbacks in my mind with an immense amount of talent, an extremely high floor and ceiling combination for quite some time. I mean, we do not have to worry about these QBs anytime soon. Dak Prescott as our quarterback 3 is just icing on the cake. I want to remind y'all, right now, Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence are both top 6 Dynasty startup picks. Unbelievable that we're able to build around that out the gate. Now, going over to what we were looking at with running back, we have Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne. So a couple of running backs out of the same class. Javonte Williams actually younger than Etienne, but Etienne just so much of a better player, not coming off a significant injury at the same time. We have Tony Pollard, who just got hit with the franchise tag down there in the flex. In terms of the depth of the team, we have some decent depth. I mean, we have Jarrett McKinnon, Kenneth Gainwell. I don't really expect Devin Singletary to find himself in any realistic good situation this upcoming year. So I'm very comfortable with where we currently stand at running back. Big thing is, I'd say with Javonte Williams, we just have to have the realistic expectation that he's not going to be coming back early on this season. It is going to take a decent amount of time, but we have enough depth to get by regardless. We have Tony Pollard there to be plugging and playing in that flex spot. At running back 2 until Javonte Williams comes back, and going over to wide receiver, we have plenty of depth to play the flex as well, because at wide receiver, we have Chase, DJ Moore, Hollywood Brown in the starting lineup. And then going down to the bench, we are looking at a team that has Gabriel Davis. And if y'all remember, I hated Gabriel Davis's value last offseason. I thought it was atrocious where most people were taking him. But this time of the year, I actually think that Gabe Davis is almost a decent value, because if you are looking at Gabriel Davis, this is a wide receiver that got better this past season. He has progressed every year. I don't know why people were so optimistic about him a year ago. In my mind, he did exactly what you were looking for. He submitted himself as the wide receiver 2 for the Buffalo Bills, still an incredibly young player. Keep in mind, I'm not some big Gabriel Davis fanboy, but I actually like him as a bench asset now after his values absolutely cratered. And going down to the taxi squad, literally, it was pretty funny to see this. I was walking today with the dog, and I was just thinking, it's kind of funny that Justin Ross was so talked about last offseason. And now this is a player that nobody will ever think about pretty much ever again. But anyway, we don't need to get into the details of that. Justin Ross doesn't make an impact on this team. Going over to tight end, we're looking at TJ Hawkinson. It's a very slight tight end premium league. The league we looked at right before this, you were getting 3 points per reception for the tight end position, and you had to start 2 of them. There, I would have loved to have TJ Hawkinson. This is still a slight tight end premium. You're getting an additional 1/4 point per reception. Really, it's just a regular league, but I love Hawkinson nonetheless. If you pull up our dynasty rankings, we do have TJ Hawkinson as a top 3 tight ends. Overall, I mean, I think this is a very good team. The trade that we are looking at is going to be, let me switch this back over for y'all. Jahan Dotson versus DJ Moore, essentially. Now, Donovan Peoples-Jones is included in this deal, but this is a shallow starting lineup. So I don't necessarily think that Donovan Peoples-Jones matters too much one way or another. So it just comes down to, do we want DJ Moore or Jahan Dotson? if I'm going to go through and if I'm going to pull up my wide receiver rankings, we just updated these on flogfantasy.com. We are really working hard to get these because they did not look good not too long ago. I currently have Jahan Dotson, I believe, is our wide receiver 25 in Dynasty. I have Jahan Dotson as our wide receiver 25 in Dynasty, ranked 63rd overall. So as a late 5th, early 6th round startup pick. And I have DJ Moore ranked as our wide receiver 25 in Dynasty. I'm sorry, 26 in Dynasty. 64th overall. So I personally have these players legitimately ranked back-to-back. I don't think you should allow Donovan Peoples-Jones to make an impact on this deal one way or another with how shallow the starting lineup requirements are in this league. So it really just does come down to, what do you personally want? Do you want DJ Moore? Do you want Jahan Dotson? Like I said, I have Dotson one spot higher back-to-back. I'd say probably most people would prefer DJ Moore. But please, everybody in the live chat right now, we have 150 people out here. Before we go to the next team, spam the chat. Who would you rather have in Dynasty? Would you rather have DJ Moore on the Chicago Bears or Jahan Dotson or Sam Howell's current starting quarterback? Please let me know what you're thinking there. Spam the chat, and then we'll move on to our next team. And as I wait for y'all to spam the chat, if you want to get your team included, we're going to be doing this very often. Make sure you are a member of the Flock. You can find the link to Flock Fantasy in the live chat in the description. Sign up with promo code Flock if you want your team broken down in a podcast or on a live stream or in a video by yours truly. All my Dynasty rankings, all the Dynasty rankings for Fantasy Stock Exchange, Dynasty Land Football, Fantasy Endgame, all our articles, live streams, the whole 9 yards, 30% off promo code Flock as well. But it looks like most people are going to be going with DJ Moore. I mean, we're looking at Dotson, DJ Moore, DJ Moore, DJ Moore, DJ Moore, Dotson, DJ Moore, DJ Moore. Yeah, so we have the majority of people saying DJ Moore there. Okay, so what team do we want to do next? Okay, so Casey telling us that we can do her team. Okay, let me go ahead and message Casey that we are doing her team right now so we can look into it. As we wait for her to pull up the live stream and we'll dive into her team. Well, we have a donation coming out from Mike. Thank you, my friend. Says, one quarterback league, Dynasty full PPR. We traded Lamar, DeAndre Hopkins, the 201, 208, 2024 second for Kyler, Terry McLaurin, and the 105. What do you think? We have Joe Burrow. I would say specifically in a one quarterback league, 105 is going to be about that teardrop for me, where if we're looking at the rookies, I mean, we're sitting with Bijan Robinson 1, Jahmyr Gibbs, JSN 2, 3, whatever order you want. Right now we have them back to back. And then 4 and 5, we're going to have Quentin Johnston, then Jordan Addison. So if we just replace that 105, say with the name Jordan Addison, we traded Lamar Jackson, DeAndre Hopkins, the 201, 208 future second for Kyler, Terry McLaurin, and Jordan Addison. I would much prefer having Terry McLaurin over DeAndre Hopkins in Dynasty. Give me Jordan Addison as well over the 201, 208, and future second. Specifically because this is a one quarterback league, I like the trade and I would do it because in a one quarterback format, I don't see the fall off from Lamar to Kyler as drastic as it would be in Superflex. If it was Superflex, I'd say you probably want to keep the best asset. You probably want to keep Lamar Jackson. But given the fact that we don't have to just grab on an elite level quarterback and hold them as tight as we can in one QB, I'm fine keeping as is. Okay, but let's go ahead and let's find our next team. This is going to be Casey's team here. Just give me 1 second to pull this up. So this is a very competitive league that I'm in. Try to build both young and old on a production standpoint. Made a few moves and acquired Saquon Hopkins and a few other names trying to win now. Also moved a few picks around to acquire some 2024 first rounders as a fail-safe. Don't mind that at all. Looking for advice to become a powerhouse in this league. Scoring is Superflex tight end premium. I'm fine with YouTube video or podcast, whichever is easiest for you. Thanks. So thank you so much, Casey, for being a member of the flock. Going to be really, really happy to go through this. Okay, so like we said, this is going to be a Superflex league. But one thing I want to discuss with this being Superflex. Obviously, we know in a Superflex league, you have to bump up quarterback value. But at the same time, we need to look at the amount of total starters that we have. Because I'm used to playing in Superflex leagues, and I'm sure that you are as well, where you start 10, you start 11 players each and every week. And while, yeah, quarterbacks are still extremely valuable in that format, you don't have to build around 2 elite level quarterbacks. You can find a lot of other owners in those leagues that decide, you know what, I possibly want to build the best wide receiver core in the NFL. Maybe I'm a little underweight at QB1, QB2, but I'm going to beat you at wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, flex 1, flex 2, flex 3. Where if you have that extremely deep starting lineup, you can win without having the 2 elite level quarterbacks, because that quarterback position makes up a smaller percentage of your overall starting lineup. However, if we're looking at Casey's league here, this is going to be a league where we're starting a total of, I believe, let me just get my napkin math out here, 9 total players. So my napkin math, it never fails me. I believe quarterbacks make up about 22, 23% of the starting lineup requirements in this league. We know naturally that quarterbacks will score significantly more than every other position. So what that tells us is, compared to a league where you start 11 players and you have the 2 extra flex spots instead of just 1, here quarterback is even more important. So now we're sitting with Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson. Phenomenal situation to be in the starting lineup. Going down to the bench, we do have the depth of Mac Jones. I don't mind Mac Jones whatsoever. I mean, if we are going to be looking at Mac Jones in particular, quarterback that, yeah, probably doesn't have an extremely high ceiling. We know that he's never going to run the ball. We know at the same time that, I mean, you probably have the New England Patriots continuing to try to run it with Ramondre Stevenson, try to not necessarily get into shootouts when they are just outmatched pretty much every game at wide receiver. But anyway, fine, quarterback 3. And we're going to need that because Kyler Murray is most likely going to miss the beginning of this upcoming season. With Kyler Murray, this is a quarterback that has an extremely high ceiling from a fantasy football standpoint, given his rushing upside. With Kyler Murray, I do like the player in fantasy. I have my questions surrounding his real life effectiveness, but obviously that does not matter in fantasy football. That's a completely different conversation. And if we are going to be looking at Deshaun Watson, going back to this, I view Deshaun Watson as an elite level quarterback as well. I'm not as confident in saying that he is definitely a top 5 quarterback as I was an offseason ago, but still pretty confident in saying that you're going to be happy with where you're standing with Deshaun Watson. So pretty damn set at quarterback. And in my mind, this is probably going to be the most important position in this league. Now, if we're going to be going over to what we are rocking with at running back, we have the combo of Saquon Barkley, Ramondre Stevenson in the starting lineup. Then going down to the bench, we are going to be rolling with J.D. McKissic, Deontay Foreman, Ronald Jones, Nyheim Hines, Darrell Henderson, A.J. Dillon, Keontae Ingram. So really the only running back that I'd say is noteworthy on the bench will be A.J. Dillon. Pretty much everybody else is I'm barely rosterable at this point. But I mean, you're very comfortable with where you're standing here. I almost view it the same scenario as what we have at quarterback. We have those 2 guys holding down to the position with Saquon and Ramondre Stevenson. You have A.J. Dillon, which is acting as the Mac Jones of the running back room. You have a relatively high floor there, and we thought he was going to have an extremely high ceiling if you possibly had Aaron Jones leaving Green Bay. But even after they restructure their contract, I think that you are very comfortable in saying at the end of the day, hell, if Aaron Jones were to go down, even in an offense that doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, you have an extremely high ceiling with A.J. Dillon, who can't operate as a 3-down player. Now, going over to wide receiver, we're rolling with Justin Jefferson, DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, Treylon Burks. Down there on the bench, we have Allen Robinson, Cortland Sutton, Michael Gallup, Rashad Bateman. So really, I would say Bateman, Gallup, Sutton are the main names here. They're enough to get us by. I mean, Tyquan Thornton is there as well. And maybe you like Tyquan Thornton a little bit more now that you have no Jacoby Myers in New England. I think that kind of tells us that they are going to go through and they are going to be making a play. But I'm kind of just surprised. You were telling us that you went through and you made some trades to acquire veterans to win now. So I was operating under the assumption that this was going to be a little bit of an uglier team, that we maybe wouldn't have this kind of long-term value. But if we go through and just break this down from a startup draft perspective, obviously Justin Jefferson, a first-round startup pick. Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson both go at the 1-2 turn in Dynasty startups as well. So we presumably have 2 first-round startup picks on the team and a second-rounder, with Saquon Barkley as our third-round pick. So we just have so much value added on. Very balanced roster. Going over to tight end, we're looking at Pat Freiermuth. With Freiermuth, I've said it time and time again, in my mind, he is the perfect example of a tight end that is why you don't draft rookie tight ends. Because Pat Freiermuth came out as a rookie, was a very good player, then goes to year 2, dramatically improves. The volume he had in Pittsburgh is even better, and his dynasty value doesn't really go anywhere. So in my mind, I mean, I don't necessarily see why we would be too excited to run out there and draft a rookie tight end when everything you would ever want in a rookie tight end is sitting there with you for Pat Freiermuth. I mean, I like Freiermuth there at his price point. Taysom Hill's fine at tight end. I know a lot of people are drafting him on underdog right now, and he was a good pick last year. I don't think we get much of Taysom going forward. Now, this is a very interesting dynamic that we have. Okay, so you're going to see that we also have the 112. I would say at pick 12, you're boxed out. I don't think you're going to get a player you're too excited about, because if we go through and break down the tiers, you're going to be looking at Bijan 1, obviously. Then you have the 3 quarterbacks with Stroud, Young, Richardson, whatever order you want. Then you have JSN, Gibbs, whatever order you want. Then you have Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, whatever order you want. Then I'd say you probably also have, just say, Zach Charbonnet after that. But once we get through all those players, and Will Levis, of course, but once you get through those 10 players, in my mind, you're looking at a significant drop-off. Zay Flowers probably comes in at 11, but then after that at 12, are we going Hyatt? Are we going Downs? And the thing is with 12, it's different than 11. Where 11, I don't even know if you're going to be taking Zay Flowers, because one of the top 10 may end up falling to you. If Jordan Addison lands in the worst landing spot imaginable, or Zach Charbonnet lands in a bad spot, maybe they fall, instead of going at the 108, they go at the 19, they go at the 110, maybe they even go at the 111, but they're not falling to the 112. We know that for sure. So I feel like we are boxed out a little bit, and given the fact that this team doesn't really need depth, I wouldn't mind at all if we try to go through and take the 112, 206, 411, and try to trade up to like the 109. And try to get inside that tier of players that we're really wanting. Because if not, we're going to be stuck taking Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs, and not really having the ceiling that we're looking for with that selection. Now, what I also want to point out is the dynamic we are having with our 2024 first. We don't have our own first-round pick. So this means we are highly incentivized to go win now. We are highly incentivized to do everything we can to win this season. Because if we win, hell, we get the 112. Even if we lose while trying and instead you get the 109, usually it's painful and you go, oh God, I wish I would have just tanked. We didn't win any money, but I just got a worse rookie pick. You're not getting a good rookie pick no matter what. But at the same time, we have some other first-round picks. I would not mind if we get to this summer and you go, you know what? This is a phenomenal team. I think that we are maybe one piece away. Let me go to a rebuilding roster. Let me see if I can trade a 2024 first and Treylon Burks and get an elite level wide receiver in return. I don't mind if you want to do that, but we shouldn't do that right now. Instead, we should be looking at those 2024 first round picks as Dynasty Gold. We coined it years ago talking about this, that they are currency. They are the safest investment that you can have. And once we get to this summer, once we get through the 2023 rookie draft, they will be the next closest rookie picks. So anybody wanting to trade for a rookie pick will have to go to you for that 2024 first. So I don't mind if we want to just push our chips in the middle even a little bit more and sell one of those first to get an elite player in the starting lineup, but you will get the most for that selection with the least amount of risk to your dynasty team if we wait until this summer. Wait until after the 2023 draft, let the league marinate for about a month, and then have those people that are trying to accumulate 2024 first have to come to you. But I think that should be about it for this team. Again, thank you so much, Casey. I truly, truly do appreciate you being a part of the flock. And this goes for everybody that I'm covering their team in this video. If you're ever on flockfantasy.com, right? Like we'll go ahead and we'll pull this up right now. If you are ever on flockfantasy.com and you go, hey, Mason, I mean, it's cool and all, but I would really like to see this added on. I would really like to see this fixed a little bit. My experience would be better if we had this instead of this. Please feel free to let me know ASAP. You're not going to see create ranking, create article. That's only for the creators on the site. But if you go ahead and you go, you know what, Mason, bonus content. I know we have the exclusive videos here. Dynasty Land just put one up. But I also want to see this kind of anything you want, any idea that you possibly have, reach out to me. I'll be happy to get that sorted out. But let's go ahead and let's try to find our next team. As I pull this up, if you have not done so, join flockfantasy.com, promo code flock. And I see a lot of people asking how they get their team sent in. If you are a mother flocker on flockfantasy.com and use promo code flock, you can find that link in the description. You send it in the roster submission tab on Discord. Okay, so let's get that out there. But let's go ahead and let's look at our next one. It's coming out from Janowski, who says, can add to the YouTube video. It's a 12-team Superflex start 9. We also have JT and Hawkinson incoming in a trade for ETN, the 110, 212, 2024 second, and Cole Kmet. No idea how the hell we got that deal done. We'll be looking at that in just 1 minute. But first, let's look at this team. Okay, let's go ahead and let's pull this up. And this will be a Superflex league. And I don't like where we're sitting right now, if I'm going to be honest, at quarterback. I understand that, yes, Daniel Jones just gets the contract extension. Yes, at the same time, Daniel Jones is in a situation where we know he has rushing upside. They add Darren Waller to the New York Giants. This is a quarterback that's dealt with some of the worst weapons in the NFL for quite some time. So there are reasons to be excited about Daniel Jones, but I feel a lot more comfortable about him being my quarterback 2 in Dynasty compared to our QB1. And then going down to our second quarterback spot, we are going to be looking at Derek Carr there. With Derek Carr, I mean, this is a quarterback that I feel more comfortable about having as my quarterback 3, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, if I'm going to be looking at Derek Carr, it's a quarterback that has no rushing upside whatsoever. I mean, the man was drafted way back in 2014. We really have only had one stretch of games, I believe, for about half a season. What was it, 2016? Sometime around then, where he actually was a high-end quarterback 1 in fantasy. It's really never going to happen. I think Derek Carr, given the lack of rushing upside, has a ceiling as a high-end QB2, but that is his ceiling. Obviously, the floor is much lower than that. So if we were to have a QB1 overall, and we are able to push Daniel Jones down to our quarterback 2, able to push Derek Carr down to our QB3, I'd feel significantly better about this overall quarterback room. We have Sam Howell currently as the other quarterback, but in reality, I don't necessarily think Sam Howell is guaranteed a starting job this upcoming season. Definitely possible, but we don't know. Now, going over to running back, I want to remind everybody, here we are going to be trading Travis Etienne, the 110, the 212, a future second, and Cole Kmet for Jonathan Taylor and TJ Hawkinson. So we're looking at Travis Etienne in the starting lineup here, but in reality, this is actually going to be Jonathan Taylor. I would prefer Jonathan Taylor over Travis Etienne in Dynasty. I do have him 1 tier ahead. Now, going down to the bench, we have Jamal Williams and Antonio Gibson. So we really don't have much help at running back currently, but we'll give you a little sneak peek of what we're going to be working with later on with the team once we get to the rookie picks. So I'd say you're probably 1 running back away. If you could add a 3-down workhorse, of course, we'll get to Bijan later. But now going over to wide receiver, we're looking at Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Jerry Jeudy. Now, I see the note saying Sean Payton's target monster when it comes to Jerry Jeudy. I will say I don't hate the idea of exploring a potential trade possibility of Jeudy, because I've seen the sentiment a ton with Jerry Jeudy as of late, where a lot of people are looking at the potential for Courtland Sutton to be on the way out in Denver, where people now realize, hell, Jerry Jeudy clearly proved this past season that he's the wide receiver 1 for the Denver Broncos. Now, if you looked at the historical splits of both wide receivers, you should have always known that he is the wide receiver 1, but we don't need to go down that road. I think that while, yes, you may have improvement from Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos with Sean Payton coming over. That is entirely possible. And while, yes, Courtland Sutton could possibly be out of Denver at the same time, I do want to remind everybody that with the Denver Broncos, all wide receiver depth was lost last year. Tim Patrick, before the season even started, went down for the year. KJ Hamler missed the majority of the season. Courtland Sutton dealt with injuries through the course of the year. So even though I've been on board of saying, while most Denver Broncos last year were all overrated, Jerry Jeudy was the wide receiver one, I'm still not like a Jerry Jeudy fanboy. I'm still not going out there and telling everybody, oh, you need to have Jerry Jeudy in Dynasty. Let me head over to flockfantasy.com right now and see where we actually have him ranked in comparison to some other wide receivers. I currently have Jerry Jeudy ranked as our wide receiver 28 in Dynasty. A wide receiver that I had ahead of Jerry Jeudy that I think we could trade him for, that I would actually pretty much easily prefer. I would rather have Michael Pittman over Jerry Jeudy, another one of our avoid wide receivers last year, but I think at this point he's a better price. And I'd rather have Jahan Dotson over Jerry Jeudy as well. So just some potential Jerry Jeudy trades. Going over to Jameson Williams, this is another wide receiver that I wouldn't be opposed to seeing what we could get for. With Jameson Williams, I think that very easily he could be a good NFL wide receiver. He could stretch NFL defenses, provide value for the Detroit Lions, and of course, that'll be valuable from a real-life perspective. But Jameson Williams never really dominated the target share wherever he played. Obviously, at Ohio State, he didn't get on the field over Garrett Wilson, didn't get on the field over Chris Olave. Can't really hold that against him. But even when he gets to Alabama, I mean, he averages like 31 to 33% of the receiving yards on a per-game basis as a junior at Alabama. Like, it's not like he was ever some, in my mind, elite wide receiver prospect. The main thing that gives him that NFL value is going to be the speed and the ability to stretch NFL defenses. So I don't hate the idea of possibly putting Jameson Williams on the trade block as well. Well, let's go down to the bench and see what else we have here. And not too much we are going to be looking at. Now, going over to tight ends, we're rolling with Cole Kmet, but it looked like we were rolling with Cole Kmet. No, now we are going to have T.J. Hawkinson. Hawkinson, in my mind, a top 3 tight end in Dynasty. I think we have him literally ranked back-to-back with Mark Andrews. So, love where we stand at tight end. I don't think we need to talk about that whatsoever. Now, going over to the rookie draft, this is how I think this team makes a difference. We are going to be bringing in Bijan Robinson with the first overall pick. Putting Bijan and Jonathan Taylor together will be a significant difference maker for this team. This team needs another running back. Bijan Robinson is obviously a 3-down player that can catch the ball in the backfield, a phenomenal athlete as well. But we trade away the 110. We trade away a couple other second-round picks. We don't have our own 2024 first next year. So if we take a step back, if we look at this overall team, I'm a little bit worried that we're not going to have enough firepower to get through the season. I'm a little bit worried that this team is not quite good enough to be a contender. Now, of course, it is March. We don't have to submit a starting lineup anytime soon. So we're not going to go out there. We are not going to panic, and we are not going to start trading for veteran players that we think could possibly make an impact right now. No, we are in a good spot. We can do this a little later. We can cross that bridge when we need to. But I do think we put ourselves in the position where I could see this team, once we get Bijan Robinson added in, winning the league. It's a possibility. If things break right, this is a team that wins the league. But also, say we add Bijan Robinson, and then we have one of our running backs go down. Say Jonathan Taylor, keep in mind, Travis Etienne's traded for Jonathan Taylor on this team, goes down for the year. And then just something else happens. Say Daniel Jones gets injured for a 6-week stretch. It's very, very possible 2 players get injured. Then all of a sudden we are just completely out of luck. We don't have enough firepower to really compete. And most importantly, we don't have our 2024 picks either. So it's not like we have the ammunition for during the season to plug holes on a sinking ship. So I do get nervous when I see a team that we don't have our own 2024 first on, where I see a path for that ship to crash and burn. Not saying it will. This ship could easily sail to victory. That's a possibility. But it does just make me a little nervous. And one of the reasons why I'm always a little hesitant to trade away our 2024 first unless unless we know we have that juggernaut, unless we do. But thank you again so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock. I hope that this was able to help you out some. And yeah, if you have anything you ever want to see improved on flockfantasy.com, do not hesitate. Please personally reach out to me, and I'd be super happy to go through and get all that done for you. Or send it to the developers and see if it's possible for it to get done. I mean, some of the stuff I send them, they tell me, you know what, Mason, I like the idea, but this is just not happening. But let's go over and real quick, we have a donation question before we pull up our next team. Coming out from Nick, another longtime member of the flock. Thank you, my man. Says, Dynasty Superflex 12-team league, start 9. Quarterbacks are Lamar, Lance. Running backs are Pacheco, Algier. Wide receivers are Waddle, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, and Chris Olave. We have the 101, 105, 106, 108, plus a ton of second-round picks. Should we go after a quarterback? I mean, right now, obviously, there's a lot up in the air if we're going to be sitting with Lamar Jackson and Trey Lance. Don't really know if you're in a position where you have 2 elite level quarterbacks that run the ball this upcoming year. That's definitely a possibility. At least I want to convince myself it is with how much Trey Lance I have everywhere. But it's also a possibility that the 49ers have seen Lance. They go, you know what? This guy's not it. We are going to try to plan on Brock Purdy as the starter this upcoming season. And if Brock Purdy can't be the starter initially, maybe we even throw out Sam Darnold. I hate to say it, but that is a possibility. It's a real possibility. And also with Lamar Jackson, we have no idea what the situation will be this upcoming season. But as we sit today, March 14th, I think that we will get a ton of clarity with at least one of these situations by the time we are at our rookie draft. So I understand the thought process of saying, oh, you know what? I mean, there's a lot up in the air. Possibly we want to go make a play at QB. In reality, I probably just sit on my hands for the moment, wait until we get to the rookie draft, hold on to the rookie picks. That way we have the flexibility where if we do need to make a move, we can do so then. I mean, worst case scenario, you have the 101. We're assuming you're bringing in Bijan Robinson. 105, 106, 108. You never know. Maybe at the 105, someone in your league right ahead of you really loves JSN. Maybe they really love Jahmyr Gibbs. And somehow, some way, you get either CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, or Anthony Richardson falling to you. So even if everything goes horribly wrong, we could still be in a position where you're getting a really good rookie quarterback. And the 106, I mean, if you like him, you could go ahead and you could grab Levis as well. Right now, it looks like Will Levis will be a top 10 NFL draft pick, and he will have some rushing upside as well. So, I mean, hell, I really like the combo of Richardson, Levis coming onto my Dynasty team with Lance and Lamar. I think if we were to make a quarterback, we're not doing so anytime soon. We're waiting for clarity with the Lance and Lamar situation. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at Benny's question real quick before we get to our next team here. 12-team Superflex, start 9, PPR, 1.5 tight end premium. Inbox offered T. Higgins, 108, Knox for my Olave, 110, Evan Ingram. We already have Hawkinson and David Njoku. Okay, so going from Olave to Higgins, I mean, personally, I have Olave ranked slightly ahead of T. Higgins in Dynasty. They're pretty much identical. Looking at 110, Evan Ingram versus 108, Dawson Knox. I would probably just stick with 110, Evan Ingram. Maybe if you weren't having to trade Olave for T. Higgins, then sure. But, I mean, with the quarterback upgrade for Olave, I don't think Derek Carr is phenomenal, but I definitely think that he's better than what Olave had this past year. I'd probably sit on our hands. I wouldn't do anything here. Now, let's swing back over and let's look at our next team. We actually just got a team sent out from the Hess Express. Let me see. Have I done a team for you recently, my friend? I think we did a decent amount of these the other day. Okay, so nope, we did not. Let's go ahead and let's dive into this. This will be a 12-team Superflex league. So we have a lot of Superflex teams that we've been going through, but if you play in a one quarterback league, you will find on flockfantasy.com that we also have one quarterback rankings for you there. And of course, I'd be more than happy to go through and look at any one quarterback league for you. But it's going to be the Hess Express. Thank you again, my friend, for being a longtime member of the flock. 12-team Superflex, start 10 PPR, 1.5 tight end premium. Started from a few weeks ago. Lots of draft capital for flexibility's sake. Probably buying more veterans come season time. Love the idea. My friend, never going to shy away from just loading up on rookie picks and then figuring it out later on, because we can do pretty much whatever you want with the rookie pick. Now, going over to quarterback, we're going to be rolling with Lamar Jackson as well as Kirk Cousins. Now, with Cousins, this is a QB that I know a lot of people hate on, but I feel like you really understand what you have year in and year out. With Kirk Cousins, you know he's probably going to be a mid to high-end quarterback too. Yes, Cousins has no rushing upside whatsoever. Yes, it's going to be almost impossible. It probably is impossible for Kirk Cousins to be a top 5 quarterback this upcoming season. But at the same time, do you need him to be that? You have Lamar Jackson, quarterback 1. Lamar Jackson does have the ceiling for you where he could potentially be that top 5 QB. So actually, I kind of like where we stand there. Now, going over to what we're going to be looking at down there on the bench, we have Aaron Rodgers as well. I think Rodgers is a phenomenal QB3 in Dynasty. I mean, I think this will be someone that you probably get 2 more seasons of production from. Really no point in ever selling him, just because you're not going to get anything in return. If you were to try to go out there and sell Aaron Rodgers right now, really the most you would probably expect is like the 203, 204. And at this point, I'd rather just hold him for the next 2 seasons of production. Now, going over to the running back room, this is where things start to get a little dicey. With Mixon, I want to look at a couple different things. I'm going to pull up his keep trade cuts, and actually, we can just pull up his rankings on flockfantasy.com. So let me show y'all how we do this. Okay. Just give me 1 second. We haven't really shared this view of rankings yet on flockfantasy.com. So, and of course, there's a 2-day free trial when you sign up for Flock Fantasy, so you can see all this yourself. Let's swing this over. Okay, so we don't need to expand the entire screen, but we'll look at this little miniature view. So if we're going through, we are sorted by my rankings right now, right? So if we wanted to go through, if we wanted to pull up, say, the overall rankings for Joe Mixon, we could click running backs as well. Now you're including a running backs, wide receivers sorted by my rankings, and go QBs, tight ends, add on whoever you want, and go rookies only for my rookie rankings. We don't need to look at that right now, but I don't even want to look at my rankings. Actually, we'll look at mine. We'll look at Badaki's. We'll look at Corey's. We'll look at Danny's. We'll look at Zach's. We'll add a bunch of people on here. But I want to go through and sort by the average. And let's go down. Let's try to find Joe Mixon. Let's see how low Joe Mixon is in these rankings now, because I have found that it is so interesting to see this kind of fall from Joe Mixon. Like, he is now at this point ranked 94th overall in our rankings. This is a running back that, yes, has some very real concerns. This is a running back that, yes, was taken off the field for Samaje Perine, which you hate to see. But if we're looking at the contract situation, I am kind of confident that you are going to have... I'm sorry, I'm just trying to swing this over. I'm confident that you're going to have Joe Mixon on the Cincinnati Bengals this upcoming season. And if Mixon's going to be on the Bengals this upcoming season, you probably have a running back 2 at the minimum, right? Just based off of the raw amount of touches that he's going to see. I want to say Joe Mixon probably running back 2 at the minimum, and at the same time still has the ceiling to be an RB1. Aaron Jones, I would almost say the same thing. I understand that everybody is off of these players at this point, and yeah, they don't have long-term value, but I think this upcoming season with Aaron Jones, you probably have a running back 2 at minimum with the upside for running back 1. Tyler Algier, we'll see if he can actually survive the offseason, but if he can, you probably have a low-end RB2 with the upside as a low-end RB1. And then we're going to have a lot of rookie picks to look at. We are going to have a ton of rookie picks to look at, but this is a running back room that, yes, could crash and burn very easily, 100%. But it could get you by. We don't know. We really don't. At wide receiver, we have Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Jacoby Myers, Isaiah Hodgins, Romeo Doubs in the starting lineup. And then down there on the bench, we really don't have anybody. We have Brandon Cooks, and that's about it. We're going to have to go through these rookie picks, and we're going to have to try to address everything there. Now, going over to tight end, we do have an elite level tight end with Mark Andrews. I mean, with Mark Andrews, currently have him as, I believe, tied for the tight end 2-3 with TJ Hawkinson. We have both of those guys ranked back to back. I really do think it's going to be up to your personal preference on who you want. I still have Kyle Pitts as the tight end 1 in Dynasty. Don't really know what the situation will look like for Mark Andrews this upcoming season. Of course, we don't really know if Lamar Jackson will be there, but still, at the end of the day, you have a great tight end. There are very few tight ends you'd rather have over Mark Andrews in Dynasty. We have Isaiah Likely, Tyler Higbee is some decent depth. Now, this is where things get interesting, right? Because we pull this up. So in the first round this year, we have the 106, the 110, and the 112. With this team in particular, I feel like we don't have any specific holes. It's just almost like every position's a little underweight. Every position is just, okay, we don't have enough firepower here. We don't have enough firepower here, but we have some nice things to work with. So if we are going to be approaching this rookie draft, in my mind, we should just be going with the best player available almost every single time. Every single time we're on the clock, best player available, no matter who it is. 106, in my mind, will be a tier of 3 guys. I'm sorry we have to break this down every single time. We should create a little graphic for it. But Bijan off the board at 1. Then after that, some order of Stroud, Young, Richardson. So those are going to be the top 4. But then once we're at the 106, in my mind, we have a tier of 3 guys. We are going to be operating with Will Levis, JSN, Jahmyr Gibbs, whatever order you want. One of those players won't be available to you because they'll go at the 105. But you will have the choice between 2 of those guys left over based on the sentiment that I've seen by most people in the live chat and just across fantasy football in particular. Seems like JSN will probably go 105. So we'll probably be trying to decide between Jahmyr Gibbs and Will Levis. If that's going to be the case, I personally, with this team in particular, would be fine if you wanted to go in either direction. I personally would be going Will Levis, assuming he goes top 10 in the NFL draft, especially if he finds himself somewhere like the Raiders, where Jimmy Garoppolo can be that bridge quarterback and Levis can then play behind him and maybe start halfway through the year, start in 2024. I would actually really like that for him. I think it's a great situation to be stepping into. Now, going over to the 110, this is where we are at the end of a tier. And the further we get away from the 101, the harder it will be to project because we can have more and more people doing crazy things, obviously. But if we're going to be breaking this down, after that tier of 106, we're going to have probably Quentin Johnston, 108, Jordan Addison, 109, and we will most likely be looking at least in my mind, Zach Charbonnet, 110. Now, of course, as I said, the further we get away from that very top, the more likely it is that things get mixed up. We don't necessarily know which direction things will go with. So it's hard to pencil in Zach Charbonnet right now before we see NFL draft capital, before we see anything, but still a possibility. It's also a possibility that Addison lands in a bad spot. We get Jordan Addison falling to us, that people don't like where Quentin Johnston goes. We get Quentin Johnston falling to us. There's a lot up in the air. We can almost make anything work. Now, 112 is where I really don't like the players that we have. We're looking at Josh Downs. We're looking at Jalen Hyatt, but we have so much draft capital after this 12th pick. Where what I would personally look to do, in my mind, that 310, the 312, the 4th round picks, the 5th round picks, they are useless, especially when you have this many of them. You can't draft this many rookies and then hold them onto this roster. And even if you do, you're probably going to be cutting 99% of these players in offseason from now. So what I would personally look to do is try to get another pick inside the top 10. I would be trying to trade pick 12 and then a 3rd, a 4th, and a 2nd. If we could trade pick 12, the 208, the 310, the 405, the 501, and even throw in a couple extra 5ths because who cares, they're 5th round picks. If we can do all of that, move inside the top 10, go to the 108, go to the 109, I would feel so much more comfortable about getting another rookie that is actually going to make a difference Whereas as of now, I feel like we're probably only going to get 2 or 3 out of this entire list of picks. Of course, we can use these picks as flexibility later on as well, but we have to start selling these 3rd and 4th round picks for any marginal improvement we can starting today. Because it's going to be very hard. Not many people want a 4th round, 5th round rookie pick. The hit rate on those guys is non-existent. Now, what I really like to see with this team, and I think that we are just going to have so much flexibility to play around with throughout the rest of the offseason, is the fact that we have 4 future first. Now, it's a team built out of veterans, but because we have 4 future first, we can almost go in any direction that we want, especially when we get 3 difference-making rookies from this class. So I don't want to say anything with what we're doing with those 2024 picks right at this second. The only thing I'd say is, just like you mentioned in your Discord chat, let's wait until the summer minimum to decide what we're going to be doing with those 2024 picks, because there's no way they're really going to lose value until this summer. And especially once we're through the 2023 draft, everybody is going to be very, very excited about those. But thank you again, my friend. I really hope that breakdown was able to help you out. And like I'm telling everybody, please, my friend, if you see anything on flockfantasy.com that you go, hey, you know, Mason, I love the site, but I want this capability on it. Or you know what, Mason, I would like it a little bit more if we tweak this thing. Do not hesitate. Reach out to me. I will send it over to the developers right that second. I can't promise it will get done. Some things are not possible, or they would take too long. Maybe it's something we could get done in 2024, not immediately. But any improvement that you want, please reach out to me, and I'd be super happy to get it done for you. Okay. But let's go ahead and let's find our next team. And as I find this next team, of course, if you have not done so, drop a like on the live stream. And if you want to get your team broken down, you can do so on flockfantasy.com. Sign up with promo code FLOCK for that team breakdown, and also 30% off any subscription, plus Dynasty rankings, the whole 9 yards, okay? We already all know that. Now let's go over and we're going to be looking at C433's team. Thank you so much, my friend, for letting me use this team. I'm assuming that we're going to have to swing this to a different window. Let me see how big this is. Yeah, I figured that was going to be that full-size one. So let me go ahead and let me swing this around. Okay, Safari. I think this is it. Hopefully this is it. Yep, here we are. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's first talk about the league settings before we get into this roster. And the passing settings, we're going to have 6 points per passing touchdown. What I'm going to be looking to do in terms of a 6-point passing touchdown league compared to a 4-point passing touchdown league is I'm going to be trying to focus in more so on the quarterbacks that provide us passing volume, and not trying to just chase rushing production at quarterback over and over and over again. Because if you're, say, Lamar Jackson, and you're able to go out there and run the ball for 800 rushing yards, it doesn't matter if Patrick Mahomes has a decent amount more passing touchdowns, because you're lapping him with the rushing production no matter what. Whereas if you change it from a 4-point to a 6-point passing touchdown league, then at that point, it gives the guys that maybe don't have that truly elite rushing ceiling still the elite level ceiling in fantasy football. Someone like Lawrence, Herbert, Mahomes, Burrow, obviously these guys run some, but they don't run crazy like, right? Now going over is going to be half PPR. We're getting a slight tight end premium, nothing too much to discuss. Yeah, really standard settings. What I do want to focus in on is the fact that this will be a 10-team league. And let's go through and let's collectively count the starting lineup spots here. And oh my gosh, my computer spazzed, and I'm sorry about that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's a 10-team league. We're starting a total of 10 players. So we need to just do some quick math for us out here. So if we're starting 10 players in a 10-team league, obviously that is 100 players being started across the entire league. Whereas if you're looking, in my mind, a more so standard dynasty league where you're starting 11 guys and it's a 12-team format, there you'd be starting 132. So we're starting 32 fewer players across the entire league here, where that, in my mind, tells me depth is going to be less important. And what we should primarily be focusing in on is trying to come away with the top-end elite level assets. That's going to be the main thing that I will be looking for. And now going over to what we have with a couple of these elite level assets, it is a super flex league, and we are lucky enough to be rolling with Trevor Lawrence here. So that is a phenomenal spot to be in, of course. Now going down, we are going to have an empty super flex spot. But on the bench, we have Jordan Love, Trey Lance. I want to get on you by not having Trey Lance in the starting lineup and having him down here on the bench, but I'm assuming you're just teaching him a lesson, probably something that I should do on my own Dynasty teams. All jokes aside, I think you're in a very comfortable position at quarterback. I think we can safely say that Trevor Lawrence, very solid QB1. Trey Lance, Jordan Love definitely have question marks, but they have upside. I am expecting that Lance is going to be the primary guy that we're really excited about here, but still, I mean, even if Lance doesn't work out, you may get someone with Jordan Love there. Now, going over to running back, we're rolling with Breece Hall currently in the starting lineup. We have Khalil Herbert. I view Herbert more so as a depth piece. I understand he's looked phenomenal at times for the Chicago Bears, but at the end of the day, it's a running back that doesn't really catch the ball. We don't really know what the situation will be like in Chicago this upcoming season. Kareem Hunt as the depth piece. Don't really know what situation Kareem Hunt will be in, but going down to the rookie picks, this is something something we can be very excited about. We have Bijan Robinson at 1. So we're going to have Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall as our 2 running backs. Personally, those guys are my running back and 1 and running back 2 overall in Dynasty. So I think you're probably in a very comfortable position with where you stand at running back. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley, Drake London, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson. Okay, so I'd say Higgins, wide receiver 1 in Dynasty, Drake London. Hopefully one day he'll be a wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. I think right now we can call him in a 10-team league, more so a high-end wide receiver 2. And then Calvin Ridley, wide receiver, low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3. So we are fine at wide receiver. We have a plenty of depth. We even have guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones, DJ Chark down there at the bench, Alec Pierce down there at the bench, and all these rookie picks we're going to get to in just one second. So no hole at wide receiver. I mean, we don't have like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson on our team, but we're perfectly fine. Going over to tight end, we have Pat Freiermuth. I mean, we've already talked about, in my mind, Pat Freiermuth being one of the better discount tight ends you can find in Dynasty at this point with how good he's been his rookie and sophomore year. But at the same time, you have Evan Ingram down here on the bench. So even if you're not a big Freiermuth fan, or even if Freiermuth doesn't work out this upcoming season, we can always pivot over to Evan Ingram. Now let's get to the big portion of what we need to be looking at here. And this is going to be the rookie assets we've accumulated. And going back to a quick, brief overview of this team. As of today, we have a hole at running back. If we were to add 1 player, aka Bijan Robinson, that hole will be filled. Okay, so we're going to add in Bijan Robinson. We'll be fine at running back. And then same thing, I'd say across the rest of the roster, we're fine. We have enough depth everywhere. We have no clear holes. So our strategy in this rookie draft is best player available, best player available, best player available, best player available. 102 will be interesting. So personally, I have 12-team Superflex leagues ranked as Bijan 1, Stroud 2, Young 3, Richardson 4. But with that being said, this is a 10-team Superflex league. So because this is a 10-team Superflex league and not a 12-team Superflex league, you need to be primarily focusing in on the ceiling of these quarterbacks in my mind, because everybody's played in a 10-team Superflex league where there are more than enough quarterbacks to go around. Multiple people are rostering 4 quarterbacks on their team, and really nobody even has a hole at the position. It's very different than if you were in a 12-team or a 14-team Superflex league where the supply and demand's all messed up. So I wouldn't hate if, say, Anthony Richardson would go to the Indianapolis Colts at pick 4. If you really wanted to go ahead and you really wanted to take Anthony Richardson over Young and Stroud at the 102, swing for the fences, saying the ceiling's the only thing that matters in a 10-team league and we don't care as much about the floor. Now, of course, at the end of the day, I just think as long as you take one of those 3 quarterbacks, we'll be fine at the 102. Then our quarterback room will be Lawrence, Lance, a rookie quarterback, and Jordan Love. We'll be 100% fine with that core. Now, going over to the 107, this puts us in an interesting spot because, in my mind, we're going to be looking at the tier 3 guys. We're going to be looking at JSN, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Will Levis. Based on my understanding of what a lot of people are saying with how they're personally valuing Will Levis, I have a feeling it's going to be Levis at 7, especially with this being a 10-team league, especially with people not needing quarterback as badly, where if, say, we take a rookie quarterback at 2, say we decide to go through and take CJ Stroud, and we're rolling into the season with Lawrence, Lance, Stroud, Jordan Love. We are not that excited to take Will Levis at 7. If it was a 12-team league, I'd say do it anyway, and we'd find a trade partner, but it'll be more difficult to find that trade partner in a 10-team Superflex league at the quarterback position. So what I would probably look to do at 7 is if Levis were to fall here, I would not be opposed to you deciding to take either Quentin Johnston or Jordan Addison ahead of him. Because of the size concerns for Addison, I personally have Johnston ahead of him. But if you wanted to go Quentin Johnston at 7 over Levis, I'm going to be fine with it, given the quarterback situation and given the fact this is a 10-team league and not a 12-team league. But if Will Levis were to fall to pick 9, you're taking Will Levis regardless. We'll figure it out later. Now, 202, 203, keep in mind, this is a 10-team league, so these picks are actually going to be a little bit higher than you would initially assume. So if we're going to be looking at the 202, this is in reality, I mean, the 112, the 203 is in reality the 201, but regardless, this is the wide receiver range. You're looking at Jalen Hyatt, you're looking at Josh Downs, maybe Roshan Johnson if he gets the draft capital and landing spot that you want. But I do feel like we're boxed out, so very similar to what we've been saying to a lot of other people. I wouldn't hate at all if you try to go through and take the 202, 302, 402, and just move up to the 108, the 110, which I know that sounds like a big jump. Keep in mind, it's a 10-team league. We're moving up like 3 spots. But in my mind, we will be getting a completely different player with those 3 spots because I don't necessarily see how like Jalen Hyatt, how Josh Downs, they really help this team. Like, I mean, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to add in some additional depth, but we're already adding in the depth elsewhere. That's not a move that we have to make right this second, but definitely by the time we get to the NFL draft, we're not that comfortable with where we stand. But thank you again, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. I genuinely do appreciate it. I really hope you're able to get something from this. And as I've said to everybody, if you see anything on flockfantasy.com that you want improved, reach out to me. I will get on that ASAP. I'll send it over to the developers. And if you are not on flockfantasy.com, if you want your dynasty team broken down, find the link in the description, find in the comment section, promo code FLOCK, and yours truly will break down your dynasty team, and you'll get 30% off any subscription, but mother flocker tier for that dynasty team breakdown, and you'll just submit it through Discord. I'll probably do this again tomorrow night. Let me know if y'all enjoyed this, but we've been live for a little over an hour here. I actually have a video that we need to be making, so I'm going to end this, record a video, probably actually record some podcasts of these teams because we have more to get through even than this later on. But thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Really hope you have a great night, and really hope we get to see you with the video tomorrow. Thank you so much for everything.